Today, I'm going to be talking about some really simple ways of getting the most out of your portraits when you're shooting in the woods. Your local woodland can be a great setting for a portrait shoot, but over the years, I've learned that there are definitely a few things you need to watch out for. Things that I've learnt the hard way. So getting straight into it, here are 5 things to be made aware of so that you can increase the chances of coming away from your shoot with some really amazing images. Tip number 1 is to try and avoid dappled lighting, and that is if you're trying to achieve a nice uniform light on your model. Now you would think that we're shooting under the canopy of leaves in a forest that the light would be nice and soft and diffused as you're sheltered from the harsh sunlight, but I can tell you now that is not always the case. This is particularly true if you happen to be shooting on a really bright sunny day, as the harsh sunlight will tend to filter through the leaves or the gaps in the leaves and create those hot spots you often see scattered on the woodland floor. Ideally, to avoid this, you really want to locate a large shady area within the woodland, so maybe somewhere that's got a really dense canopy above that's not letting any sunlight through. Or if you can't find that kind of area, then you just want to shoot with the sun directly behind your model, and that will throw their face into a nice even shadow. This technique is often called backlighting, and if you want to learn more about backlighting, you can do by watching this video here. Before I move on, I should stress that dappled lighting isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes this mottled lighting effect can be used creatively, but it's unlikely that you're going to want to use it for every single one of your photos, so it's good to know how to work around it. Tip number 2 is to make the most of the surrounding foliage. Ferns, brightly coloured flowers, or even fallen trees can be used to add dynamics and texture and colour to your photos. For example, in the woodland that we were shooting in, there was a large dead tree that had fallen over, so I asked Amber to climb up onto it, and then I shot down the length of the tree trunk to create a nice lead-in line towards Amber. Another example would be when I shot through some of the greenery on the forest floor. Now, obviously this means getting up close and personal with nature, but I think the results are well worth it, and it really helps to add depth to your shot, especially if you're shooting with a shallow depth of field like I was. Tip number 3 is to just be aware that your images may adopt a green cast to them. As the light from the sun passes through the leaves in the canopy above you, it'll adopt a bit of a green tint, which can sometimes make skin tones in your images look a bit alien. Now obviously this is more of a problem when you're shooting on a bright sunny day like I was, because the light will be more intense and it'll intensify that green tint. On a cloudy day you might find that this is not so much of an issue. To fix this problem, you can either adjust the white balance on your camera to compensate for this green cast whilst you're shooting, or if you're bone idle just like me and you can't be asked to do all that stuff, then you can just shoot in RAW, and then once you've taken your images into Lightroom or Photoshop, you can easily remove the green tint using the tint slider. Tip number 4 is to try and add your own lighting for high contrast images. Obviously, if you're shooting in spring or summer and there's a thick blanket of leaves above your head, then generally the light in the forest will be quite shady and flat and uniform. Now, this isn't a bad thing, but if you want to capture more dramatic images, you could always try introducing your own light using a simple off-camera flash setup. The bright burst of light from the flash will help to make your model stand out from the shadowy background and could be a super effective technique. If you're new to off-camera flash and you want to learn 3 very quick and easy one-light setups, then be sure to check this video out here. Finally, tip number 5 is about bokeh. If you're like me and you like to shoot your portraits with a super shallow depth of field, then this tip is for you. So in order to achieve nice bokeh in your background, make sure that you fill the shot with an area of the canopy that has plenty of gaps that allows the bright sky to shine through. When defocused, these areas of bright and dark will create a nicely textured background. Anyway, that about does it for my 5 quick tips when shooting in woodland. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel, because we release videos just like this every single Friday. So I'll see you in the next one.
I was going to say, yeah, we're done. That's a wrap.